Good evening, councillors, and good evening, officers, any members of the public watching this. Welcome to the meeting of the Planning Committee on the 23rd of February. Let's get started with item number 1, which is apologies for absence. Do we have any?
Apologies from Lawrence Plant, I'm subbing. Well,
okay, thank you.
I'm subbing.
Thank you. We don't have any others, I don't believe, so we'll just have to wait and see if the missing members arrive. Okay, moving on then to number 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any of note this evening, councillors? No, I see none. So let's move on to the next item, which is number 3, minutes of the last meeting, which was the 2nd of February. Do I have a nomination for acceptance? Thank you, Councillor Gavishak. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Eggleton. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Now moving on to public participation. Item number 4, we have one member of the public who wants to speak this evening, Mr. Richard Guy. Hello, Mr. Guy. Please just let us know which application you're speaking to, and then you have 2 to 3 minutes to speak, and just whenever you're ready.
This is P21 So324, which is the Red Lion. I'm not sure this is quite the right thing to do at this meeting, but I'd like to appeal or plead for basically the retention of the original name and the original signage, if possible. As you know, it's been reported in the Henley Standard a couple of times that there's plans to rename this the Relay Henley. And the reasons given are basically that it's a Red Lion is a common name and it's undistinguished. The point I'd like to make it is common because it's also the most oldest name in the sort of pub pantheon. This particular Red Lion was noted in 1532 in Henley. So it's probably on premises that were there since about 1400. So it's probably one of the oldest Red Lions in the country. And I'd also disagree that it's undistinguished. I mean, its history and the visitors that have come through it. I mean, I can start, with Charles I, Prince Rupert, the Duke of Marlborough had suites there. Samuel Johnson, James Boswell wrote letters from there. George III stayed there. The Prince Regent apparently ate 14 mutton chops there. The victors of the Napoleonic Wars, including Alexander of Egypt and Prince William of Prussia, were entertained there on their way to Oxford. So it's a name that's got a 500-year-old history. It's significant history in Henley. It's got a bit part history in the nation. And I think it's worth conserving for the historical record. And I'd also sort of point out that as you come across the bridge, what faces you is the sort of angel on the left, the Church of St Mary's, which is also the most common church name, straight ahead, and the Red Lion on the right. And that sort of trio and that townscape, that sort of vista, is, one of the best known in the country. It's one that Henley should be proud of, and is possibly even known sort of worldwide. So basically, to conclude, I'd like to say that, in my opinion, Henley is a long association with the name of the Red Lion. It's fond of the Red Lion. It's part of the history of Henley. It's part of this historical record. And if you cannot make a condition or a stipulation in the planning condition here, could maybe yourselves as the planning committee or the chairman or even the mayor address the issue to Mrs. Leo and say that basically Henley would like to retain the Red Lion and make efforts at least to maintain this name, the Red Lion. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guy. Would any councillors like to question or statement? Yes, the mayor first, and then
I'll let the mayor.
Yeah, just quickly, Chairman. The application tonight is all for internal work. There will be an application coming in a couple of months' time, which probably Mr. Guy is speaking to. But I say tonight is just the internal of the red line and not the external. But that will come up, and I can't say I agree or disagree with him, but I don't think we need to debate this tonight. We'll just note Mr. Guy's comment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, we're just going to fill a few bits. I'm not going to go into debate or anything because it's not actually to do with the thing, but just to answer a few questions. The reason the signs were taken down in the first place, because I did look into this when a few people complained about the signs, and I'm all about protecting the history of Henley. So the signs were taken down because they were rotten, and the person that's taking it over was worried about them falling on someone. So, but they've kept all the signs. There's nothing going to be done with the signs. They've kept them to make a replica of the signs which are already there, as in the thing. The reason they were changing the name, from what my understanding is because it's had a bit of bad reputation over the years, and that's the reason they were changing the name to that. But the red line on which is on the roof of that building is staying there. It's not coming down at all. That is going to stay on that building. The signs that are going back up are going to be similar signs. So whether they will have red lines either side of the thing with the other name in the other side of it, I don't know. But she is working with the conservation officer, and I think Suffolk District Council as well, and other various historic people. So she doesn't want to change anything. If she can keep it the same, she will do everything that so the council are basically working alongside. We will take your points across, and no doubt we'll pass them on to her. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors before we move on to the next item? No. Okay, thank you very much for attending, Mr. Guy. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Good to hear your views.
My video now, do
I? Yes, indeed. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, let's move on to the next item, which is number 5, plans amended, and you'll find those on page 15. Okay, so the first item we have is P20 So324. It's a householder application, and it's for Green Acres, Elizabeth Road. Jodie.
And so you recommended refusal last time until you received further information on the effect of light on the neighbouring properties. These amended plans give some further information on the opening of the fan lights, and they've got restrictors in place so that they can't open any further than what's already been approved. They're the changes that have been on this amended plan.
Okay, thank you. Did they address councillors' concerns? In your opinion?
I think that was up to you, because you had that concern last time.
Councillor Arlett showing.
Thank you. Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, it answers my questions, Chairman, so I propose no objection now.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Gavashak. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion for acceptance. It's been seconded. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. So let's move on to the next application amended, which is P20 So488, and it's a householder application, and it's Field House, 43 Deanfield Avenue. Jodie.
So the amended plans just show a correction to the elevation plan. So I think your comments previously would still stand for this.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, yes, Councillor Gavashak.
I suggest we reiterate our earlier comments, that we are okay for condition 2, but not the removal of condition 5. So straight repeat, thank you.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
second
Is
that.
that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Would any of the councillor like to speak to this? No, let's put this to the vote then. We've got a motion for refusal on the same grounds as the previous. All those in favour?
Approval.
Approval.
Approval. No, hold on, hold on. Wait, did I say the wrong way around?
You said the wrong way around, Michelle. So.
Oh, apologies. Okay,
No,
so we've got refusal. All those in favour?
It's recommend approve. Sorry,
Sorry,
Stefan.
I'm sorry.
Stefan has made a proposal that recommends approval subject to the conditions.
Okay.
Yes. We repeat the.
We're basically repeating the which is sorry. Okay, so it's approval subject to the okay. So we all know what we're voting on. All those in favour?
That condition.
Yeah, that's
Done,
carried.
Michelle.
Thank you. That was an unusual one. That one, wasn't it? Okay.
Well, we're warmed up now.
I knew what I meant. Okay, so moving on to the next one, which is P20 So215. It's a householder application, and it's 27 Nicholas Road. Jodie.
So you recommended approval last time, subject to conditions on the trees and ensuring it's ancillary to the main property. The amended plans show the proposed studio as being smaller, but wouldn't address your concerns about being ancillary in the trees. So your previous comments would probably still apply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
I suggest we repeat our original our comments from last time, that we recommend approval subject to the rest of it.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded?
No.
Sorry, Councillor Cook, did you want to speak? You're seconding.
I want to speak, that's all.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's take a seconder first. Do we have a seconder? Yes, thank you, Councillor Arlett. And yes, Councillor Crook, you'd like to speak.
Problem with these, we've approved several of these over the few years, and then lo and behold, they say they're just for business or granny flat, and lo and behold, you see people actually renting them out, or people that don't look like grannies living in them, and it really irks me a little bit, really.
So, Councillor Crook, can you see that we've got conditions on here?
But what do we do if people then rent them out as Airbnb after we've approved that they're not? They say they're for granny use, and then they blatantly are flouting.
Yes, Jodie can answer your question.
You can report it to the planning enforcement team at SADC, and they'll go and investigate it.
Because there was one I'd noticed that's been thing, and she doesn't look like a granny living in it.
So we would need to take that up separately then. If you want to speak to Jodie about that tomorrow. Councillor Gavashak, you want to speak?
I just want to sum up if everyone's spoken.
Yeah.
We've got a seconder, haven't we, in Councillor Arlett? Yeah. Okay.
Just to say that.
Yes, sum up, please.
Sorry, just to say that Councillor Crook's concerns are quite correct and noted, but the motion actually does say the building is ancillary to the main property and not used as a separate business. Now, if the planning permission is granted with that included and it varies, then yes, Jodie is quite right that we can go down the enforcement route.
Yeah.
And we should. And if Councillor Cook knows of others, then outside the meeting, not in the meeting.
Okay.
Jodie.
It just really annoys me, and that people are flouting these rules.
Outside the meeting, Councillor Cook.
Okay, let's move on. Right, let's take a vote on this one. All those in favour of a repeat, please raise your hands. Thank you. All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. So moving on to the next amended item, which is P21 So117. It's a householder application and it's 3 St Mark's Road. Jodie.
You recommended approval last time, so I think that would still stand.
Okay, thank you. Councillors. Councillor Gavashak.
I repeat approval, please. So recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Arlett. Any other councillor like to speak? Okay, let's put this to the vote then, and we've got a reiteration of approval. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so, oh, my pen. Let's move on to plans new, which is the next item on the agenda, agenda item 6 on page 17. We've got P20 So215. It's a householder application and it's 56 St Mark's Road. Jodie.
So this site is located within St Mark's Conservation Area. I don't have any objections to the proposed site's single-storey extension, but I do have some concerns over the removal of the trees within the conservation area. The condition could be put in place to ensure that the trees are replanted.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
I'm going to make a proposal for approval, but I do want to add the condition. There are it's magnolia trees that are of concern. Whenever you see an application where there are trees to be removed, then you quite rightly get concerned. These trees, if they stayed, they would not affect this planning application at all, because there's one to the left of the front garden, and that's not affected by the plans, and there are some in the back garden. So therefore, I will propose approval subject to the trees being retained.
Okay, so it's retention, not replacements. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eggleton,
I'll,
thank you.
I'll second that, and can I speak on it?
Yeah, of course.
The could you change it to because they got these machines now that you can dig them out, replanting them somewhere else in the vicinity.
Councillor Gavishak, no, that's
it's not necessary to the planning permission.
So you're still seconding?
No, I still second it. It's just I just thought if you could change the wording, because magnolia trees are really lovely trees. Well,
okay,
not very big.
So
yeah.
We've got a proposal with condition. It's been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. The motion. So sorry, yes, Councillor Crook, did you want to speak?
I did notice that they tried to say that it wasn't I can't remember the exact wording, but it seems that they just want to remove them because they're not aesthetically pleasing, I feel. And I think people shouldn't do that just to have nice, neat gardens. We shouldn't be having nice, neat gardens because we have a climate emergency, and we should be leaving our gardens a little bit wild for the climate. We shouldn't all be having neat, nice, tidy gardens.
Magnolia trees are beautiful as well, aren't they? Okay, right. Let's put this to the vote then. We've got a motion for approval, subject to the condition of the retention of these trees. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is P. Yes, Council. Yes.
Joseph Borlase is in the waiting room.
Oh.
Shall I let him in, and do you want to just let him know that he's missed public participation?
Yeah, I asked him to apply to Jodie. Jodie, did you hear from him?
Yes, but he didn't arrive at 50 today. He's quite late.
No, he's only just arrived in the waiting room.
Okay. Councillor Arlett, can I ask for your advice? Because have you ever had this situation before? Kath, do you know if you've had this situation before? Will, you know.
Yeah, as it's an agenda item, I suggest he waits and then he'd be asked to speak at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, he can come in provided his video is silenced and wait for the agenda item. Yes.
Okay. All right. So if you're Kath, you're happy with that?
Yeah, can you again turn your video off?
Yeah, I'll just speak to him when his audio is connected. I'll speak to him. Borlase, can you hear me? No. Oh yeah. Oh, hello, Mr. Borlase. Hi there. Just to let you know that you're speaking. You're muted, unfortunately. But don't worry. What I'm going to do is, unfortunately, you've missed public participation. So what's happened? I've spoken to the deputy clerk, and I've spoken to other councillors, and they've agreed to hear you before the agenda item. So when we get to that item, you're very welcome to speak for 2 to 3 minutes before that agenda item. But in the meantime, we'd be really grateful if you could turn your video off.
Of course.
Thank you. We'll speak to you soon. Okay, councillors, where were we? We're at the red line, weren't we? So we've got P20. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, sorry.
So we've got P20 S4 658, and it's a full application. It's the Red Line Hotel. Jodie. Yes, sorry. Should we just speak to Councillor Hamilton first?
No, Jodie, go first. Sorry.
No, okay.
I jump in the gun.
Yeah, so the listed building consent was discussed last time, and we recommended approval subject to the satisfaction of the Conservation Officer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I propose acceptance. This is the internals of the building. They're working with the Conservation Officer. I recognise that there are some people that are concerned about change, but as is the internals, I'm sure the externals will come back in due course. I think we should really take up this wonderful, progression, as it were, of having that hotel done up in such a nice way. So I propose acceptance.
Okay, is that seconded?
I'll second it and I'd like to talk on it, please.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Councillor Eggleton.
I think I've been in and seen some of the stuff which they've taken out, which is the modernisations, some of the stuff which has been done over the years, they're taking back and going back to original stuff where they can. And they are working along, like I said before, they are working along as a conservation officer and Southwark District Council. So I think they are doing everything they possibly can to bring it back into its former glory, because I think it's been long neglected.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got a motion for approval. Is that that's been seconded? Would anyone else like to speak? No. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on. We've got P21 So115, and it's a householder application, and it's Sirius Packham Prime Lane. Jodie.
I don't have any objections to this.
Thank you. Councillors. Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
Propose acceptance.
Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Clark. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance? All those against? Abstaining? Okay, thank you. Councillor Arlott is abstaining. That's carried, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is P21 So167. It's a householder application and it's number 1 Queen Street. Jodie.
So yeah, this proposed first floor extension would be visible from Queen Street and could detract from the nearby listed buildings, which already have quite a tight arrangement. But I do note that there shouldn't be any direct window-to-window overlooking. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Crook.
Recommend refusal because it's unlawfully. It's in the, yeah, I just think it, got what I was going to say, got brain freeze. It's just, they're trying to ram it in a very small space and it's just not the right place to do. You know, I can understand them wanting to have a study, but not in this particular area. It's just not. No.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? No, we don't have a seconder for refusal. Councillor Gavishak, you'd like to speak?
I propose acceptance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Hamilton. Okay, so we've got a motion for approval. It's been seconded. Let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Crook. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is P21 stroke So190. It's a full application and it's for Physiolistic Limited, Henley Rugby Football Club. Jodie.
I didn't have any objections to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors. Councillor Hamilton, yes?
Post acceptance.
Okay, is that seconded? Councillor
Seconded.
Eggleton, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those, oh yes, Councillor Clark.
By doing this extension, Madam Chairman, is that reducing any car parking spaces on the development?
Jodie, can you offer any advice?
I don't think so.
No.
I'd have to check.
Post to a tree.
Councillor Arlett, perhaps you can help.
Yeah, it's a storage area. That's all. You're just absolute rubbish there. There's no car park spaces at all there where they're proposing.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
fine.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got a motion for acceptance. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is P21 So200, and it's a householder application, 85 The Close. Jodie.
So this isn't in the conservation area or a listed building. I note that there's no objection from OCC Highways, and consider that part of it could be done under permitted development. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors. Yes, Councillor Crook.
I propose acceptance.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that and
Thank you,
speak on it.
Councillor Eggleton. Yes, of course.
You couldn't really turn it down because there has been other places around there. We've had development in that area anyway, where they've changed the roof space into extra rooms and stuff.
Okay, thank you. Right, would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? Yes, Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for this, Chairman. I think it's totally out of character around there. I've no problem putting a couple of small dormers or even a couple of Velux roof light, but this is just it's awful, absolutely awful design, and it would totally look over the next door neighbours as well. So they're going to lose their privacy. I think it's a dreadful design.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Arlett. Yeah, Councillor Eggleton, did you want to come back on that, or Councillor Crook?
Yeah, it's Mr. Mayor. There's one across the green. As you go in and you go straight across the green, they've done a major development in there. There's a few there which have and there's one just as you go in on round the right. They've done a lot of extensions. Are they not overkill with that as well, do you think?
Okay, well, that's a debate really, isn't it? So we don't really want to open up a debate. Okay, so councillors, we have got a motion. It's been seconded and it's for approval. Let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Arlett, are you abstaining?
Yeah, well, no, you won the vote anyway. That's fine.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's carried. Let's move on to the next item, which is P21 So215. It's a full application and it's 170 Grays Road. Jodie.
So yeah, this is an application to vary a condition of an already approved permission. The proposal is to amend the design to include a first floor dormer over the existing living room. I don't have any concerns with this really.
Okay, thank you. Councillors? Yes, Councillor Gavishak?
I propose approval.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
I'm concerned about this one. Whilst they have drawn 4 parking spaces, we've got a problem in this area with parking, which is why the top of Elizabeth Road is being parked in. And I think there's just shoehorning too many houses in here. You know, we've allowed so many houses go in on the top of Grace Road. That's why they park in the top of Elizabeth Road and cause the problem. And that's where we've got to. So I'm just concerned about the parking.
Is the Councillor Arlett?
Yeah, if you read the drawings correctly, you'll find there's 2 spaces actually. The other 2 spaces are for the original house that's already there, which makes it even worse.
Councillor Hamilton, do you want to come back on that?
We'll see what the rest of the committee think, but I won't support it.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
Well, I'll just sum up if no one else wants
Yes,
to
of
speak.
course.
This is to vary a condition on the planning permission that's already been made, and the condition is a reasonable variation. So we can't rewrite the history of the planning that is already extant on this plot. So therefore, I propose, as I have done, that we approve this because the variation in condition is acceptable. Thank you. You may well agree that there should be more parking, yes, and but unfortunately the horse has bolted on that particular one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. We've got a motion for approval. It's been seconded. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Yeah, by 1. Thank you. Okay, and the next item is over the page on page 18, please, councillors. And we've got P21 So215. It's a householder application and it's for 24 Valley Road. Jodie.
Thanks. So I've got some concerns over the scale and massing of the proposed 2-storey element, but this is a detached property and I do note that there's similar extensions being approved along this road. So no overriding objections to this.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
I take on board what Jodie has said, and but I'm gonna recommend approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded, Councillor Arlett? Thank you.
I second it, Chairman. It's almost overdevelopment of the site, but the problem is there's a few others been done around that area, so you'd find it very difficult to turn it down. But I'll support the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, I see none, so let's put this to the vote then. We've got a motion for acceptance. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. So the next item on the agenda is P21 So298, and it's a householder application for 66 St Andrews Road. Jodie.
So this falls within the conservation area, and the proposed design would comply with the existing character and style of the building. We also note that no windows proposed on the southern elevation, so no objections. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Crook.
As acceptance.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gavishak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. So next we have P21 So324. It's a full application and it's for High Lees, Rotherfield Road. Jodie.
So this has already got an extant permission in place for a new dwelling on this site. The permission expires in April of this year. So they're proposing the same, but to give them a longer time to implement it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors. Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
propose acceptance of this. It's already been granted plan permission. I've looked at the site, and you can get a house in there. It's a large plot. So therefore, I propose approval. Sorry, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Arlett seconding.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's put this. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Obviously not tennis players. Okay, let's move on to P21 So362, full application for 6A Hart Street. And I'll take this one with the listed building, which is So363. Jodie.
So this is in the conservation area in a grade 2 listed building. It's for the change of use from a shop to a dwelling in the rear section of the building known as 6A Hart Street. It's separate from the front, those at front onto Hart Street. I've got concerns over the loss of the shop within the town centre and the impact this would have on the parking within the town. It's located within the air quality management area, but I do note that the air quality officer has no objections. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, have any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
Well, we'll see how the debate goes on this. I'm going to propose refusal of this, and it's partly because of the parking that we've already alluded to during this meeting. The change of use. Yes, the air quality conditions have been met. Because there is a well, may be met because Carmen has actually mentioned those conditions. But I think my main thrust is the loss of residential, the loss of retail and business use rather than residential. I mean, are we going to convert the whole of Henley into residential? Going forward, so I propose refusal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Are you seconding, Councillor Eggleton?
Yes.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay, so let's put this to the vote then. It's for refusal. All those in favour? All those against? Councillor Arlett abstaining. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is P21 So408. It's listed building consent and it's 50 Marketplace. Jodie.
Didn't have any concerns with this, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's hope this is straightforward then. Councillors, yes, Councillor Crook.
Recommend approval.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Councillor Clark. All those in favour?
Sorry, could I just, sorry, before we,
oh yes, sorry, go ahead. Yes, of course.
I just want to make a comment on this, that this is a beautiful frontage. The proportions of this building are absolutely and utterly fantastic. You know, the size of the windows and the door. The door is solid at the moment, and actually I like the door. I think it's a beautiful door. But my only comment is that, is that I really hope that the household, I'm sure they will, because they love this building. It's a listed building, etc. I'm sure that the door that is chosen will be in keeping with the frontage of the house. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not sure they're actually
vote for this.
Aren't they just putting glass panels in? They're keeping the door and just changing the.
Well, then, if that is the case, then the proportions of those glass panels, I would hope, would be sympathetic. Sorry, I'm being a bit picky on this particular one because
it's
it
a very
is
visible
an
house,
absolutely lovely frontage. It really is.
Yeah. Okay.
Gorgeous.
All right. Well, we've got a proposal for acceptance. It's been seconded. If no other councillor would like to speak, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Okay, last one, P21 So434. It's a full application. It's Victoria House, 35 Queen Street, Jodie.
So this site has already got prior approval in place for the change of use from offices to 6 flats under general committed development rights. This decision only related to the change of use of that building and did not include any external alterations. So they've submitted a planning application. Again, I would have concerns over the impact on parking from this development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, that would be my main concern. Is if you've got flats, it's pretty hard to park in that road as it is. Having extra flats there is going to be even more difficult for parking.
Okay, so your proposal is for refusal.
Refusal.
Objection. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Is that seconded, Councillor Crook? Thank you.
I speak?
Would you like? Yeah, of course.
Because I'm pretty sure that this office block wasn't that long ago. It was done up. I'm pretty sure they did it. Is that the one? It's the one with the sliding gate, isn't it? So it's quite modern.
No, it's just on from there.
On from there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, I don't want to speak now.
Okay. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No. Okay. Let's go for the vote then. And so the motion is for refusal. All those in favour? All those against? Abstaining? Okay, 2 abstaining. Okay, many thanks. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 7. We've got objections, call-in applications. Do we have any? No proposals for call-ins?
No, let's move on.
Okay, thank you. That was very definite.
Got too many in.
Say no more work, please.
Ken don't like talking in district.
Okay, next one. Number 8, decision notices. To receive and note the report of the decision notices. We've all noted those. Thank you. Yep.
Yep.
Number 9 is permitted development application. It's for 41 Lever Road. It's an LDE. Jodie, what does that stand for?
Permitted development.
Okay, and
yeah.
Listed development.
Jodie, what does LDE stand for?
It's the what? They've just used a reference.
It's just
works with their systems.
Me because we also have LDPs, and I don't know what that is. I keep meaning to look it up. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. Item 10 on the agenda, which is withdrawn planning applications. We've got 146 Reading Road, and we've got 85 The Close. Okay, thank you. Right, so let's move on to item 11, which is the consultation for the proposed Puffin crossing and the zebra crossing. Councillor Gavishak, you'd like to speak to these?
Yes, I will very briefly. It's just to draw the attention of the committee to the fact that the consultation for the Gravel Hill crossing, which is a zebra, and the Puffin crossing or Pelican crossing, or whichever one it is, for Swiss Farm, is closing on Friday. We have previously given our support to both of these crossings in votes, and we've also given support in terms of actually paying for the consultation fees for them to happen. What I would like, and I will be making a proposal, what I would like is for this committee to write a letter to Yvonne Constance or Jane, who is the consultation officer that's dealing with this, So I would like a letter to go from this committee that actually expresses support for both of these crossings, because both of these crossings, I believe, are much needed, rather like the Grays Road crossing that we've already done. So my proposal is that we write a letter to the consultation about these crossings for approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully it'll be seconded, and then
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Arlott.
Thank
Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Crook and then Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, can I say well done, Stefan, for pursuing this, because I wanted the Swiss Farm crossing done, and that poor man happened to lose his life walking along that road, and I don't think anyone should ever have to lose their life walking along a road, or even anyone trying to cross the road. And I do think with Swiss Farm being a high tourist area, it is badly needed for people, and less people to use the cars when they're coming in to visit the town if they're staying at Swiss Farm, or even walking a bit further along to an established listed house. I do think they're vitally needed. So if we can get more people walking, and even parents going to school, to Badgemore School, and students going to the college from town, it's much needed. So well done, Stefan. I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? Yes, Councillor Eggleton. Sorry, you did say yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's well, I've been working with Stefan on the other crossing that we've achieved on Grays Road, and it's used every single day, so people are crossing there very safely now. And yeah, the other two are greatly needed on Gravel Hill and at Swiss Farm, because the amount of people that are crossing that road, and it is especially in the summer, and you've got several campsites down there, it is definitely needed. So urge people to vote. I've seen it up online for people for the for voting for the consultation side of it. So just urge people to vote for it, because it is needed on both places. Thank you very much, Stefan.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
If no other councillors are going to speak, I'll just quickly sum up.
Yeah, please do. I don't think
All right.
we've got any
Summing
others
up on the Gravel Hill briefly, we have got support from Badgemore School and also the college for this crossing, as it's absolutely much needed as a route to school. Regarding Swiss Farm, the fact that to get any of these crossings through, you've got to have a car count and a pedestrian count. And the thing that sticks in my mind is during the 12-hour period where the Swiss Farm crossing was viewed, there were 3,600 plus car movements along that road. And there were 350 people trying to cross the road back and forward. So it just shows that it is absolutely needed in this area. It's within the 30-mile zone, so it's already within sort of the built-up area anyway. So therefore, thank you for your support. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to all councillors who've spoken on this. So we've got a motion which has been seconded for a letter of support to Oxfordshire County Council. All those in favour? And all those against? All those abstaining? Abstentions? Abstaining?
No.
Councillor Clark. Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Crook, did you want to say something?
Well, Hamilton, what is wrong with you? Why do you not want people to have a safe crossing? Do you want people to get killed?
Councillor Hamilton, you don't have to answer that, but you're welcome to speak if you want to.
What on earth is wrong with you?
I'm just surprised by Councillor Crook's very odd outburst.
Because you
have some respect.
I think she did actually.
I think you're disgusting.
Sorry.
Not to vote for this.
Okay, councillors, let's move on to the next item. You'll have to take this offline. Okay, so the next item on this agenda is the consultation for the new taxi licensing policy. Kath, did you want to speak to this at all?
Not really.
No. Did either of the district councillors want to speak on this item? No.
No, I'm fine, Chairman.
No. Okay. Well, listen. I mean, I just to let you know where I stand on it. I I did spend time reading every single item. And it's really, really straightforward. I just think we should go for a straightforward note of support.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you, that's carried. And the next item is number 13, which is the Climate Emergency 2030 Working Group. This is just to note the minutes of the meeting. Okay, thank you. And then item number 14, which is the Transport Strategy Group, again, to just receive the minutes again of that meeting. Yes, Councillor Gavashak?
There are a few recommendations within it, well, one recommendation in particular within it that we have to vote on. I'm just trying to find...
Is that right, Kath? Do we have to vote on something in the... Yes? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, right, go ahead.
Page 29. Sorry, no. Oh, I'll get there in the end. Right, page 34. Page 34.
Councillors, please turn to page 34.
Item 14.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
I see it here, yeah. 14 and 16.
And 16. So if we do 14 first,
Okay,
let me explain this. That SODC a year or so or more ago set aside £100,000 for air quality measures, and Henley Town are the only town that have actually taken have tried to access this money, and we've been extremely successful with the particulate monitor. We are proposing walking signs that will come out of the money. And in particular, the car club. Bearing in mind that any air quality projects, and SODC say that this approves, is 50% funded by SODC. So the total of this car club is for 2 cars for 2 years, and the total is, well, 23,982, so roughly 24,000. Of which 12,000 will be paid for by SODC, and 12,000 will be paid for by Henley Town Council. And as Fiona and Kath have said, this will come from SIL money. And bear in mind that if we don't use the SIL money, we will lose it. Now, this has been pursued by the Transport Strategy Group for about 3 years, and we came to the conclusion that we were going to move on this. I think the mood has changed during COVID, that people are more willing to actually give up their cars or give up a second car and actually join up to a car club to hire as and when they want a car. So therefore we have talked about this in the past, but this is a recommendation to the planning committee, because the Transport Strategy Group, which unanimously approved this, by the way, it doesn't have any powers to spend money. So yeah, therefore, that's why this has to come to this planning committee. So therefore, I propose 14, the resolve to recommend the resolution as written. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Crook. Thank you. So before we put this to the vote, then, would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Councillor Gavashak said that he would use SIL money for this. Is there not a way that we could look at sponsorship from other businesses in the town, trying to use the 12,000 from SODC and perhaps 12,000 from private sponsorship, or rather? I'm just worried that we're spending SIL money like confetti, and perhaps this is one of the projects where we could go to a sponsor rather than seal money pot, because obviously the car could be branded.
So is that something you'd like to get involved with, Councillor Hamilton?
It's I'm just asking Councillor Gavashak whether it could be explored.
I will cover that in my summing up.
Okay, Councillor Arlett, you wish to speak?
Yes, Chairman. For the last 3 3/4 years I've been back on this council, I've heard that said by Councillor Hamilton so many times now about sponsorship. Can you just tell me how much sponsorship money you brought into this council over the last 3 3/4 years, Councillor Hamilton?
I would call it sponsorship, and I don't really need to answer this question.
No, Councillor Hamilton,
hang on.
you don't need to answer that question.
Well,
It's
I don't
entirely
have to answer that question, but perhaps if he ran the London Marathon and raised 6,000, then he'd be doing well on his fundraising.
So for the council.
Okay, councillors, let's get back to the agenda, please. Let's go to the motion that we've got in front of us. Okay, so we've got a motion for approval of this scheme, which has been seconded. Unless any other councillor would like to speak, I'm going to put this to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? Okay, thank you, that's carried. I'm for.
Can I make a proposal, please, Michelle? I've read the minutes of the Transport Working Group. There's a couple of things that were raised in that meeting. I did watch the meeting. One was
Councillor Hamilton.
No,
Agenda.
no, you can't. These are notes.
Councillor Hamilton, is it on the agenda?
Yeah, yes, it's on. It's in the minutes of the Transport Strategy Group.
We're just to note them. We're just to note them.
We're noting them, but
So
we're
the
also
next-
commenting on them.
The next item that we have a resolve to recommend is item number 16. This is the item that we now need to address.
Okay,
So, councillors, do we have any proposals from councillors on this one? Councillor Gavashak, would you like to
It's
sum up?
you know that OCC funded the active travel cycle racks that have been put around the town, and we
Yes.
previously discussed the locations, etc. This is just a very simple thing. People ask me whether we should move some of them. The answer is that the transport strategy resolved not to relocate them at the moment. Now leave them where they are, and give them a fair trial for 6 months, a year or so, and then if there are some that are in the wrong place, then okay, we'll look at it as part of the transport strategy. So I propose that this resolution is that we do not relocate the active travel cycle racks, and we do support the creation of a cycling map or app for Henley to investigate street signage to help find the racks. So it's 2 bits: don't relocate any racks at the moment, and to create an app going forward. That's all. Thank you. That's my proposal.
Councillor Arlett and Councillor.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eggleton, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, what it is. I think there's it's too many. I understand where Councillor Gavashak's coming from, and yes, I'm all for having cycle racks where people can lock their bikes to it, because we have had a few bikes stolen from outside shops when they leave them, so they need something to anchor them to. But a few years ago, when they put cycle racks in, they had to be in keeping with the town, and they had to be heritage cycle racks, and which you will see there in the marketplace, which they sort of blend into the area, whereas these ones are solid frames, and some of them are a bit overpowering in some areas. I would say, if Stefan, could you have a survey done on the ones that are being used? The ones are being used, because we don't want to take, even though we can, if we get a survey between now and a set time, whatever you want to say, year or whatever, do a survey on the ones that are being really used, and then take out the ones that are not being used.
Councillor Gavashak.
I will cover that if you want me to sum up.
Please,
Okay, well,
thank
let's
you.
just, we've got a seconder. Let's just see if any other councillor would like to speak. Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Now, I think Dave makes a very good point. They do look somewhat silver and somewhat metal, as it were, in a conservation area. And it perhaps should just be the ones right in the centre of the town that we should reevaluate. If you paint them green, then I suppose some people might trip over them. So that would be the downside. But there are one or two that perhaps are in the wrong place.
Councillor Crook.
I suggest that we just paint them and then they will be in keeping, and that solves the problem then.
Okay, so Councillor Gavashak, can we
Okay.
sum up, because your motion has been seconded?
Yes, I'll just sum up, and I'd ask the committee to approve what we have resolved. Yes, I've listened to Councillor Eggleton and also Councillor Hamilton, that I will bring it to the attention of the transport group. We had already said that we were going to review the locations of some of these. You've got to bear in mind that this was actually funded by the government through the Active Travel Scheme. So it was money for free. But I agree with you. If there are any in the wrong place, then yes, we will look at them. But that will be done over a period of time. So let's get them here. Let's not relocate them. Let's get them settled in. So we've got a good view of them going forward. But yes, I agree with you, Dave, or Councillor Regular. I agree with you. Yes, if there are some in the wrong place, we'll move them. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, yes, Councillor Clark.
Do we stipulate that they're
No, I've
there
summed up, please.
Yeah.
for 6
Yeah,
months?
okay.
For 6
Fair
months
enough.
only.
Fair enough. Okay, right. We've got a motion for approval. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried.
I'm sorry, it carries on. Very, very briefly. 17.
Oh, okay.
We did
We've got two more.
quite a few. Very briefly, I will propose this, the recommendation that the council supports the slow wage project. There was a chap somewhere who actually decided he would map all rather like the heritage footpaths in his local area, so that during lockdown people could walk them, because there are quite a few footpaths that are not on local maps, and this is spread to a national movement. And there was a proposal from Transport Strategy that we become part of it. So my committee will actually be working towards mapping the footpaths in the Henley area, and that will link into the wider areas as well. So a very simple recommendation.
Yeah.
For approval.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded?
I'll second that. And can I talk on it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that's a good project to get involved in. I see a little thing about people going out and discovering parks and little hidden places that they would have never have found, even though they lived just around the corner. Since this lockdown, people have been going out and using little places and going through their little alleyways and finding open spaces. Could we add open spaces or footpaths that take you to open spaces where they can see the countryside and use the parks, or linking in with the parks and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Yes, it's been in the national news a lot recently, hasn't it? Okay. Would any other councillor like to speak to this before I put this to the vote? Right. Okay. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you. That's carried. And last but not least,
I'm sorry, Chair, about this. We've never had so many recommendations from Transport Strategy. But anyway, 18. We have resolved to set up a working group which includes Councillor Clark, Patrick Fleming and Jackie Walker, which will be a subgroup of the Transport Strategy. And it's really, this has been passed over from climate emergency. We've got to have a location and a strategy and a plan for getting more electric charging on the streets of Henley and the car parks of Henley, and also the and also companies of Henley as well. So it's actually, this group will actually work on a strategy paper to actually come back to the Transport Strategy Group, and then it will eventually come back to the Planning Committee, probably in about 3 or 4 months' time. So it's just a proposal to accept the setting up of this group. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember this one coming up. Yeah, it went through unanimously. All right, so yes, have we got a seconder? You seconding, Councillor Hamilton?
Can I talk on it?
Thank you. I've said to Councillor Hamilton, but you're welcome to speak on it, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, I was going to second it. And do you want Councillor Hamilton to speak first then?
No, I'll speak after you, Dave.
Go ahead.
One of the things, I'm all for electrical points and electrical cars and trying to reduce the carbon emissions and all that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't like, I know that there was discussed at some point of having these bollards on the side of pavements and stuff like that. I wouldn't go down that route because there's too much on the pavements already, and they're more likely to get knocked over because quite a lot of the bollards that are on the side of the pavement get knocked over regularly. So I would say try to avoid, if they are, they need to go into the ground where they can pop up where they're needed, and not stand out and be in keeping with the town. Thank you.
Councillor Crook. Sorry, Councillor Crook. Councillor Hamilton was next.
No, I'm summing up. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Councillor Crook.
So I'm summing up.
We've been discussing.
Councillor Crook.
What we've been discussing on climate emergency is ones where you can have a brush thing going in like a gully. So if it's like household charging, so that you could put the wire so it goes in like the pavement, then no one can trip over it. Or
I think these are the finer details that will be worked on, in all due course. I mean, we're going to be a long time on this structure, this infrastructure.
But I've also found other places I think we could put suitable charging places. I've got to get back to Mr. Hoskin, Tony, with them. So yeah.
I mean, what I would suggest, and I did mention this when it actually came up, is I would like us to work with SODC and Oxfordshire County Council as much as possible, because we don't want to have any overlapping of any kind of services at all. Sorry, Kathy, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, I don't think this is an item that you actually need to take a vote on. This was already resolved at Transport Strategy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, we'll just...
I wish I'd asked you... Oh.
Sorry, it's me being enthusiastic. Well, we've had the debate. Let's not have the vote, but I'll just sum up that this is just to set up the group that will actually do all the investigations, and then they will bring the paper back to...
There is a councillor who is responsible for this on SODC as well, on their climate emergency working group, and they have the name of this district councillor.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Let's move along, councillors. Let's move to number 15, which is Swiss Farm Caravan Park application. This is just to decide whether we're going to accept a site visit. Okay, nothing more than that. Mr. Borlase, thank you so much for your patience. You don't have to switch your camera back on, but you've got 2 to 3 minutes to speak. Thank you so much for your patience.
Hi.
Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Sorry to muck about this morning. This afternoon. Sorry, wasn't intentional. I realise there's only a few days left of the consultation period, so I'm not expecting a change in your objection. I just thought it was useful to have a site meeting to look at the unique situation that we have here. And I wanted to discuss, already just point out that the site is completely screened. I know it's in an AONB, and I understand the sensitivity of building in an AONB, but if a site visit would show that it's so well protected, it can't be seen from roads, from footpaths, or from any habitation. The fact that it is in a beautiful location, the outward views are fantastic. That's exactly what people want to come away for holidays. And I think we can bring a high quality development which would attract large numbers of guests throughout the year, it would replace a very seasonal 10-week tenting operation, which gives no job security for staff. We have to take on seasonal staff to deal with that. A lodge development would give us that 12-month operation and would bring in well-needed money for restaurants, pubs, and all the attractions around the area. It also is a multi-million-pound investment in the area. There would be a local developer that would put in a local builder that would put in the lodges. It's a Reading firm that builds high-quality wooden lodges. All of those things we couldn't achieve with tenting. It's just not feasible. Sorry, I just got my notes here. I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible because I know I've mucked you around today. Basically, well, I won't bore you with the details. We could hopefully be able to discuss on site. Perhaps I don't know whether it's just to look at the site if you were able to come, but I can go through all the cost details and the benefits to the town at a site meeting. But basically, we'd be producing around about 8,500 bed nights for Henley, which I think is a fantastic thing for the economy. So anyway, that's all. I'll keep it brief. If you could visit, I think it would be fantastic.
Councillors, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Crook.
Yeah. Would this, because I had a phone call, so my iPad went wrong when you were talking. Will there still be room for tenters, campers, people?
Yes, this would give us a really good mix of tents, caravans, glamping, and then fixed accommodation.
And also, would you be willing to do sort of like a discount for people that lived in the Henley area if they wanted to go?
Councillor Crook, that's not a planning matter. Let's really. Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah. I think it's a no-brainer if it brings people into Henley, which this council tried to do as much as possible with walks and all that sort of stuff and attractions. And when we're bringing people into Henley, we like people to stay for a little while. And if you've got this accommodation for people to come here, and it's advertised and it brings a revenue back in, and people and a revenue back into the town, especially when we've all gone through all this COVID. We need these businesses to have this extra bonus of people coming through, because I think a lot of people are going to want to go on holiday.
Yeah, thank you. This is just to find out from councillors if they would do a site visit.
I would like a site. I would like personally. Okay. I would like to go and have a site visit. Yes.
Okay, we'll have a proposal in a moment. Councillor Gavashak.
Well, I am going to make a proposal, because we're not talking about the planning permission. We've already spoken on the planning permission. It may well be that some way down the line we might change our view, but all we're asking, and all Mr. Boulez is actually saying, come and have a look at the site so that you can get a more rounded view. So therefore, I propose that whoever wants to go on a visit, socially distant and all that stuff, in the next week or so, that it be set up by Jodie going forward. So I propose that. Thank you.
Okay, you second that, Councillor Eggleton. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak before I put this to the vote?
Sorry, I missed Joseph's start, as it were, because the Zoom packed up and I couldn't get back into the meeting room. So apologies to miss the debate, but I'm quite happy to note what's been said. I've got concerns, I have to say, Mr. Boulez. This is in the ANMB, and I think what the application has got is too much massing at the moment. So I just put that down as a caveat. But let's go and look at it.
Can I answer that? Am I able to speak?
Yeah. I mean, let's go and then let it come back to this committee. This committee needs to make a point of view going forward.
Okay. Well, listen, Mr. Boulez, we're going to put this to the vote now. So, would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, okay. So we've got a motion which has been seconded for a site visit. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's carried. We'll ask Jodie or Kath to get in touch with you, Mr. Borlase, to set this up.
Very much for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, we've just got one last item before we close the meeting, and that's just to note the called-in applications, item number 16.
Yeah,
Councillor
noted.
Arlett, did you have anything to say on
No,
those at all?
nothing else to say on that. Nothing at all. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Right, thank you so much, councillors. Thank you, officers. Thank you so much for your time. Meeting is closed.
Thank you,
Well
Michelle.
chaired, Jodie.
Excellent.
Well
Thank
chaired,
you.
Michelle. Well done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, you're on to the next one.